Eritrea's long struggle for independence. From Ethiopian annexation to armed resistance, 1952–1991. The story of Eritrea's modern nationhood is one of resilience, sacrifice, and a prolonged fight for self-determination. After years under colonial and international administration, Eritrea was forcibly annexed by Ethiopia in 1962, setting off a 30-year war for independence, one of the longest and most complex liberation struggles in Africa. This conflict not only shaped Eritrea's identity, but also redefined regional politics in the Horn of Africa. The UN Federation and Ethiopian Annexation, 1952–1962, after World War II, Eritrea, previously an Italian colony and then under British military administration, became a contested territory. Various groups and countries proposed different futures for the region. Some favored independence, others union with Ethiopia, and some even suggested partition. The United Nations, seeking a compromise, passed a resolution in 1950 to federate Eritrea with Ethiopia. Under the federation, Eritrea would maintain its own government, flag, and administrative autonomy while sharing foreign policy and defense with Ethiopia. However, Emperor Haile Selassie soon undermined this arrangement. Over the course of the 1950s, he dissolved Eritrea's democratic institutions, suppressed political parties and trade unions, replaced Eritrean symbols with Ethiopian ones, cracked down on press freedom and local languages. By 1962, Ethiopia had formally annexed Eritrea as a province, abolishing the federation entirely. This unilateral move was widely seen by Eritreans as a betrayal of international promises, and it would mark the beginning of armed resistance. The rise of armed resistance. ELF and EPLF. The annexation catalyzed the formation of the Eritrean Liberation Front, ELF, in the early 1960s. The ELF launched its first attacks in 1961, initiating what would become a 3-decade guerrilla war against the Ethiopian state. The movement initially drew support from Muslim communities in western Eritrea, but over time the struggle expanded, and internal divisions gave rise to a more secular and organized group, the Eritrean People's Liberation Front, EPLF, in the 1970s. The EPLF would ultimately build a disciplined grassroots resistance, promote gender equality, secularism, and self-reliance, establish underground schools, clinics, and social programs in liberated zones. By the 1980s, the EPLF had become the dominant force in the liberation struggle. Ethiopia's brutality and superpower involvement. Ethiopia's response was brutal. The imperial government, and later the Marxist Derg regime, which took power in 1974, carried out massacres of civilians suspected of aiding the rebels, forced resettlements, and widespread use of torture. The conflict became entangled in Cold War geopolitics. The Soviet Union supplied massive military aid to the Derg. The United States had previously supported Haile Selassie. Eritrean fighters received limited support from Arab and socialist countries, including Libya, Syria, and Cuba. Despite being outgunned, the EPLF gained territory and support throughout the 1980s, capitalizing on Ethiopia's internal crises, famine, and civil unrest. Victory and de facto independence, 1991. By the late 1980s, the Derg regime was weakening due to mounting battlefield losses and internal dissent. In May 1991, after a series of major offensives, the EPLF captured Asmara, Eritrea's capital. Simultaneously, Ethiopian rebel groups, particularly the Tigray People's Liberation Front, TPLF, overthrew the Derg in Addis Ababa. With Eritrea now under EPLF control, it enjoyed de facto independence. A UN-supervised referendum in 1993 confirmed the result. Over 99% of Eritreans voted for independence, leading to international recognition of Eritrea as a sovereign state. Legacy: the 30-year war for independence left deep scars. Tens of thousands died. Cities and infrastructure were devastated. A generation grew up in exile or under occupation. Yet the war also forged a strong sense of national identity, unity, and pride among Eritreans. The EPLF's success remains a rare example of a fully indigenous liberation movement defeating a larger, externally supported state. Conclusion: Eritrea's path to independence was not granted. It was fought for, fiercely and relentlessly, over 3 long decades. What began as a response to annexation and broken promises became one of Africa's most determined liberation struggles. Though challenges remain in the post-independence era, the legacy of resistance continues to define Eritrea's national consciousness and place in history.